Please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
All right, those are all our top stories. Let's invite our two experts. We have Gaurang Shah and Sandeep Wagle who are joining to answer all the queries this afternoon. So, gentlemen, good afternoon to both of you. In fact, let's get our first query in. We have Mr. V. Prasad, who's written in to us from Mumbai. He says he holds 800 shares of NBCC at 112 rupees for the last 6 months. He's a long-term investor and wants to know what he should do at the moment. So, Sandeep, let me come to you on this because his loss is quite severe. I mean, his buy price is 112. From 69 onwards now, is there any sort of upside that you see in this stock? I mean, if the call is to exit now, what's the best level that he can hope for?
Afternoon, Sumira. I would say that even a bounce back will not take the stock to those levels. I see a bounce back, if at all, to the range of 80, 85. I think that is the level he should exit, or in case it doesn't come, he should exit, he should keep a stop loss of 60. The stock is extremely weak since the time it has broken 90 levels, and I don't know the reasons, but I see downside.
Okay, all right, you see downside is the advice that's coming in there on NBCC. At one point of time, everyone was only talking about the big order book, but now, in fact, you know, the execution has become a bit of a challenge, or at least so the street, you know, is perceiving it as we speak. Gaurang's with us as well. Gaurang, NBCC, your view on the stock?
Thanks, Nigel, and good afternoon to all of you all. Well, I think it has been a stock which has been under the weather for a long time. And you are right, despite of having a strong order book, and not to forget, it is a government PSU. In a year wherein you have multiple state elections and followed by a general election in 2019 first part, I think the reforms process might possibly take a backseat. Approvals may not come through. So it's going to be a painful period if you ask me for the next 1.5 to 2 years for NBCC. But if you're looking at 2 year plus time horizon, then as a disclosure, we have a positive coverage on NBCC, and I would advise to hold for a long term. The investor got in at about 112, currently quoting at sub 70 levels or close to 70. If investable amount is there with a 3 year plus time horizon, I would advise to average as well.
All right, let's get in our next query. Dhananjay Vishwakarma calls us from New Delhi. Hi, Dhananjay. How could we help you?
Hi. I have Sun Pharma with me for 120 shares at 710.
Okay.
So right now it's currently at around 600. So I just wanted to know, like, whether should I hold or I can just exit from this.
Okay, and generally you're a long-term investor, right? This is not a trading query that you have.
No.
Okay. All right. Gaurang, let me come back to you on this. I mean, we had seen a bit of buzz around these pharma stocks, but, you know, given the kind of loss that he's making in Sun Pharma, where does he make good this money? Should he remain invested in the hope that, you know, this stock itself will perform back to those 700 odd levels, or is there a better opportunity?
Well, two things, Subera. One is extend your time horizon by another 2 years. And he got in at 712. I think there were plenty of opportunity. Stock was trading sub 550, closer to 500 for some time, Sun Pharma. And in the recent 3 to 6 months, Sumera, there has been positivity in terms of news flow, especially with this resolution of Halol plant, and of course getting approval for some of its new launches from the US FDA. So, you know, two conditions. One is average at lower level, not at current level. Maybe closer to 550 or sub 550 would be a decent level to average, and extend the time horizon by 2 years. We have a hold recommendation on Sun Pharma.
Okay, all right, hold recommendation on Sun Pharma. But Sandeep, coming across to you, what's your take on Sun Pharma?
Well, Nigel, though he is out of the money, I would recommend averaging maybe at the current levels, maybe on some bit of a correction. I see that the stock has bottomed out, and with a stop loss of maybe 470 or so, I would talk of a 12 to 15 month target of anywhere between 750, 780. So I am positive at the current.
Okay, all right. Positive at current levels is the call that's coming in there from Sandeep. By the way, keep an eye out on GNFC. That stock, our Tiger team's been alerting you. Today they had an analyst meet in Mumbai in these heavy rains as well. But it's one of the first ever. Remember, in this month itself, the stock is up nearly around 12.5%. The street wants to know what's the outlook on TDI pricing. That's most crucial. TDI pricing has been under some pressure. So interesting to hear what the commentary is from the management to the analysts as well. For the time being, the stock's holding with a gain of around 5%. It's corrected from the recent top. But we here at CNBC TV18 will try to get the management to join us and in fact give us more clarity as to what's going on. For the last few days, in fact, the street has been quite excited about this analyst meet, and our ticker team is alerting you about that as well. But let's get our next query. We have Ishita, who writes to us from Mumbai. She holds around 63 shares of JK Tyre at around 180 rupees since the last 5 months. Now, she's a long-term investor, wants to know whether or not to hold on or to sell. Gaurang, let's come across to you on this one. Long-term investor, what should Ishita do? Unfortunately, sitting on a bit of a loss as we speak.
Well, bit of a loss should not be a issue or something to worry about unless and until you have a long-term time horizon, Nigel. And I think given the numbers that we've seen for the entire auto pack, whether it is two-wheeler, four-wheeler, light commercial vehicle, tractor, heavy commercial vehicles, that's a robust sign. Plus, you have a great new order market and a replacement market for tire manufacturing companies and OEM companies as far as the auto ancillary segment is concerned. We're positive, but 5 months, I don't think you're going to get anything miracle. If you extend it by 18 to 24 months, I think there is a lot to be made on JK as long-term investment.
All right. Up next, Mr. Rajveer Bhatnagar writes to us from Ahmedabad. He has 500 shares of Syntex Plastics at 27 for the last 2 years. He's a long-term investor and wants to know what he should do. So making a bit of money over there. Sandeep, your thoughts?
I think it should be Syntex Industries, and if that is so, I would recommend a sell on a bounce in the range of 20 to 22, and on the downside 11 can be a stop loss. If that is triggered, when the stock can even go down to 7 or 8 levels.
Okay, all right. I think it's Syntex Plastics actually, if we got that right. Some confusion on that front. I wonder whether or not we can correct that, but we'll try to get you some clarity on that front. For the time being, I think what we can do is we'll slip into a short break. You come back, we'll continue answering all your queries, and we'll keep an eye out on the markets. We have a roaring rally that's taking place as we speak. Welcome back then. The frontliners, yes, they're doing well, but keep an eye out on some of the stocks in the broader markets as well. HEG management, they told us earlier today that they're confident about pricing of graphite electrodes going ahead as well. They're seeing demand as well quite strong. So pull up HEG, that's moved to the high point of the day. But the other producer, that's Graphite India, that as well is moving high and it's participating in the rally right now. We're having massive volumes on that one as well. So keep an eye out on that one. And the other stock that otherwise has very, very volatile moves, that's BF Utilities. It's taken off again as well. You know, when the markets are strong, you see some of these stocks, they participate. And that's precisely what's happening. So BF Utilities as well should come up for you on the screen. Stock moving to the high point of the day. Not sure if there's any news on that one, but you know, when you see a stronger market, you see some of these stocks, they just take off. But let's get to our next query. I think we have a query on Dish TV. We have Miss Lakshmi who writes to us, NS Lakshmi, who writes to us from Tamil Nadu. She holds around 200 shares of Dish TV at around 92 rupees for the past 2 years and 5 months. Now, she's a long-term investor, so she wants to know whether or not to hold on or to sell into that. Sandeep, what's your take? I mean, 92 rupees at one point of time, the stock promised, then we saw a correction from the top. What would you advise her? Cut the losses or hold on? Maybe, in fact, you can get your buy price.
Not really, Nigel. I would recommend cutting off the losses, maybe on a bounce, 80 to 85, that would be my range. And if it doesn't come, she has to keep a stop loss of 66. I think the stock has been promising some time and flattering to deceive. It is not moving up. It moves up and then it fails. So I think any bounce back towards 80, 85, she must exit.
Gaurang, what's your call on Dish TV? Should he remain invested for the moment? Numbers are out today, and you know, this will be the post-merger consolidated set. So what should investors look out for?
Well, not only the numbers today, Sumera, but the more important is the 15th August rollout of Geo Giga, which may create some amount of difficult earnings time for relative companies. Uh, and our view as a disclosure, let me say that we are positive on this team. There are two problems. One is the time horizon. In case if she can extend it by, she's got 2.5 years, but extend it further if you want to get better returns. Secondly, the merger would possibly throw in a little bit of, shaky numbers, Sumera, because always it happens whenever you have merged numbers coming in, there are some difficult times. Not to forget, it is one of the largest DTH provider after the takeover that they did of Videocon D2H business. Plus, innovation, reinvent, and implementation would possibly, safeguard the future of survival, given that you have a huge competition coming in the near future. So if you have a 3-year plus time horizon, and more importantly, from 92 levels, currently the stock is trading at 73, 73, 74 odd levels. Maybe some amount of averaging also I would recommend with a 3-year plus time horizon.
Okay, all right. So Gaurang's quite positive on the stock on the whole. But keep an eye on the markets. Well, we were sitting well above the 10,850 mark. We have come off a tad bit from the top. So just asking my director to pull up the ICICI Bank stock first in the cash market. Let's see the intraday chart of ICICI Bank first. That's looking a little nervous. And on a day-to-day basis, that it appears that there is some delivery-based selling on that counter. So ICICI Bank intraday chart comes up for you on the screen, but not just the cash market stock. That's a 12-month chart that he's pulled up, but let's get the today's chart. Yes, it's come off the high point of the day. We have been seeing delivery-based selling. And Sumeram, ICICI Bank in the futures, the near-term contract, normally the total open interest is around 7.5 crore. Now it was at around 12 crore at the start of today. It's moved to around 13 crore. That's telling you that, something's really going to give out there. You're going to see a bit of a move out there. So there is cash market selling as well. And there is a huge build-up in the open interest front as well. So keep an eye out on ICICI Bank. That appears, a bit of a drag as we speak. The stock has come off the high point of the day, and it's shaving off a few points from the Nifty in the last few minutes as we speak. But I think we got a next caller, Smera.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, Mr. K. Nagarajan now joins us from Chennai. He has a query on IDFC Bank. Hi, sir. Go ahead. So your query is on IDFC Bank or IDBI Bank?
IDFC Bank, madam.
Okay, so first a note to our producer to change actually the stock. The stock being queried on is IDFC Bank. Go ahead, sir.
Yes.
How can we help you, sir?
Sir, I purchased some 1 year back. Today morning only, sir, from your business, Ashwini Gujra has suggested that the stock has depreciated for more than 10 to 20%. Better to just dispose it off and go for a good stock like that he has suggested today morning only the CNBC TV. So what is your suggestion to whether to hold it for as a long-term investor or to dispose it off?
Okay, I will have our experts actually answer that, but that's true that IDFC has actually seen quite a bit of a knock. Since you mentioned Ashwini, let me first hand over the query to Sandeep, who's a technical expert at the moment. Sandeep, what would you advise the investor?
Well, I recommend a sell on a bounce, maybe in the range of 42 to 44. I don't see momentum. The stock has lost momentum. And on the downside, the stop loss has to be 35, because if that is broken down, the stock can go below 30 levels as well.
Okay, all right. So that's the view that's coming in on IDFC Bank. Well, I think we have another query that's coming in there from Mr. Rajesh Baheti. He writes to us from Punjab. He holds 40 shares of GNFC at 312 rupees. Since the past 6 months, long-term investor wants to know whether or not to hold on or to sell. Gaurang, do you track this one?
I'm afraid, Nigel, we don't have a coverage, so can't comment on the same.
Okay, all right. Sandeep, what about you? He's got in at 312 rupees. We saw the stock go to even more to 500, 550 rupees odd. From there, it saw a correction. Fundamentally, we'll have to wait for brokerage notes because they had an analyst meet today. But on the charts, how's it looking?
Nigel, it is looking good. I would recommend a hold with a 10 to 12 months target of around 500. That should be tested. And on the downside, 360 should be the stop loss, below which it becomes weak.
Okay, all right. Next query up for you on the screen. Atul writes to us from Visakhapatnam. He holds around 1,000 shares of Infosys at around 980 rupees since the last 1 year. Long-term investor wants to know whether or not to hold or to sell. Gaurang, coming to you on this one. 1,000 quantity, good money is being made out there. Last week, there was about the EPS growth may not be that great. The best of the IT space is behind them. Surprise, surprise, 2018 has belonged to the IT space. But in Infosys, he's gotten at around 980. What would your advice be?
So, Nigel, if you would have asked anybody on the street on Indian IT and Indian Pharma about a year and a half back, nobody would have possibly recommended you to get invested. And since 1.5 years, some of the IT stocks, including Infosys, and other stocks would have given you a return of 30, 40, 50, 60, 70%. And incidentally, Nigel, there were 2 stocks that got listed last year, L&T Infotech and L&T Technologies. These gave you a return of about 70 to 80%, or maybe more. Correct me if I'm wrong. We don't have a coverage. I'm just making a point over here. Infosys, we remain positive, and I think IT companies are something that will have difficult times in terms of some quarters of disappointment in earnings. But long term, I think they definitely deliver. We are positive on Infosys on long term, so hold on to it.
All right, Sandeep, your thoughts?
Well, I am positive as well. I would recommend stop loss of 1180. I don't think it will break that, and in case it breaks, then there will be some weakness. 12 to 15 months, my target would be anywhere between 1400 and 1430. So a very clear hold from my side.
Okay, hold. There is the advice that's coming in there from Sandeep Wagle. Before we slip into that short break, I think something's going on with some of these gas-rated stocks. IGL should come up for you on the screen. Big volumes, that stock has spiked up to the high point of the day. I'm sure our team is checking out there what exactly is the news. But MGL as well, pull up the intraday chart. That as well has taken off in the last few minutes. So both those 2 stocks, they are seeing some big volume action, price volume action. Let's pull up MGL. Yes, that as well is moving higher. So keep an eye out on that front. And Balkrishna Industries, it was a star last week. It gave you returns of more than 13-14%. Well, that one was trading in the red just a short while back, and suddenly it's moved into the green. On that note, though, we'll slip into a short break. If you come back, we'll continue answering all your queries. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Away from the market, there's important news flow coming through. The Supreme Court was to deliver its verdict in the Nirbhaya case. And we now have been notified that the Supreme Court has refused to flinch. They have confirmed the death sentence awarded to the 3 convicts in the Nirbhaya rape case. They've rejected the review plea of these 3 convicts who were on death row. And remember that the Supreme Court was hearing the review plea of 3 of the 4 convicts in this case. So the 3 convicts, Mukesh, Pawan Gupta, Vinay Sharma, have received the death penalty. Let's go across to our sister channel, CNN News 18, for the latest.
Now, in its order, a 3-judge bench presided over by the Chief Justice of India, it has held that there is a very limited scope of review petitions, not that the entire case cannot be re-argued. And this attempt by the convicts in this case has been rejected by the court. Court said that they have failed to make out any ground why the Supreme Court should re-examine its verdict, why the Supreme Court should reconsider the death penalty against all the 3 convicts. Saying this, the bench has said that because there are no material grounds, there is nothing to show that there was an error apparent on the face of record, which resulted into injustice to the convicts. The 3-judge bench today dismissed the review petitions, affirming the death sentence order for all the 3 convicts who have filed this review petition.
What was the argument that had been made by the convicts in their petition?
Arunodaya, in fact, there were 2 sets of petitions. One filed alone by Mukesh, one of the 3 convicts. He said that he was not there in the bus itself on the date of occurrence. He was not there on where the incident occurred, and that the police has extracted his confession under coercion, under force. He said that he was tortured in the custody and that the police tried to also attribute recovery of various materials onto him, which was a false implication. On behalf of the other 2 convicts, Vinay and Pawan, it was argued that they were juvenile. They were also juvenile on the date of the incident, and that their claim of juvenility has not been dealt well by the Supreme Court. They further said that recovery of certain materials on them, all those things had been planted, they have been framed in the case, and that only due to public pressure and media pressure, as Delhi police wanted to somehow crack the case.
All right, well, the Supreme Court verdict is out, and, you know, Nigel, this would be closure not just for Nirbhaya's family, but really for a lot of people who have been following this case extremely closely. And I mean, this is something that has evoked quite a response actually across the country, and the Supreme Court actually now coming through and pronouncing the death penalty. We'll wrap up on that note. Closing bell is up next.